Streaming services definitely need to rethink how they produce their TV shows, because 3 years is way too long for a wait in between seasons. I mean, I've been thinking about the final shot of Severance Season 1 for 3 years now, and I'm only now just gonna start to find out what are the consequences of said scene. That is an infuriatingly long time to keep an audience waiting. I can't even imagine how the fans of Stranger Things feel. But Season 2 of Severance is finally here, so let's talk about the Season 2 premiere. Mark reawakens on the severed floor in a panic, finds that Mrs. Casey's wellness room is decommissioned, and that his entire team has been replaced. But you shouldn't get too connected with these new kooky characters, because after causing a little ruckus around the office again, Mark is allowed to be reunited with his old team. I do hope we get to see these new characters reappear throughout the season though, because I definitely don't think they were utilized to their full potential. I mean, just imagine all of the shenanigans that these new characters could get up to. But at any rate, Milchick, who is now running the severed floor in place of Miss Cobell, informs Mark's group that 5 months have passed since the Macrodat uprising, which apparently led to changes called Severance Reform. Yes, after showing the group a little corporate-made video, Milchick promises that innies now have better working conditions. He even offers the group the choice to leave Lumen forever, or to stay at Lumen and work. And while you would think that the team would choose to finally leave, they all decide to stay because they all have questions that remain unanswered. But perhaps even more importantly, if they were to actually leave, they would suddenly cease to exist. Mark and Helly even have an interesting conversation on whether the innies and the outies are actually the same people, because innie Mark feels like he should save Miss Casey since outie Mark is married to her, but Haley feels like innie Mark doesn't owe outie Mark jack shit. And I don't think either of them are really wrong in this scenario. I mean, if I were outie Mark, I would definitely like to know that my wife was still alive, but if I were innie Mark, I would also want to stop feeling like a slave who is literally trapped in his work. Which I suppose we all are in a sense, but I'm not trying to get existential right now. And I don't think Helly is either, since her own romantic feelings for Mark are probably what started this debate in the first place. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of journey Helly will embark on in this season, especially since she lied about her outie's true identity to the rest of her teammates. But Helly might not be the only one lying in this episode, as I'm sure that Lumen's Severance Reform is nothing more than a load of bullshit. I mean, if Mark and the gang were really the faces of Severance Reform in the real world, then why would their outie still bring them to Lumen day after day in the first place? And why would Milchick casually introduce everyone to the new deputy manager, Miss Huang, who is a child? I mean, do child labor laws not exist in this universe? And where exactly is Miss Casey? I don't know, but these are some of the questions that the season premiere leaves us with, and that's not even accounting for the unanswered questions I have from season 1. But seeing as how this is the first episode of a brand new season, it's easy to understand why the show didn't answer all or any of the questions that audience members did have. You gotta build up that anticipation over time, while also introducing the audience to brand new characters and concepts. And I think the season premiere did an excellent job of doing just that. Because not only do I want my season 1 questions to be answered, but I want to see the characters and concepts from this episode to be explored even further. So while the episode may not have been as explosive or as revealing as I really wanted it to be, I can't deny that I did enjoy the season premiere overall. But as someone who was a huge fan of Season 1, I have to admit that it felt really good to be back in this universe. So I can't wait to see what'll happen on the next episode of Severance once it gets released on Friday.